You know, did I ever tell you the story of how Teslas were basically the perfect plot, and how they got big was basically they literally came up with the perfect idea on how to con poor people into buying into the electric fad. We're gonna talk about that right here on Exotic Car Hacks. Hey guys, welcome back to Exotic Car Hacks, and here we are with probably a very controversial video talking about why I've always believed that Tesla is the psychological genius it is, or should I say Elon Musk is, and how he's been really given not enough credit as a marketer because he's been able to truly take the Tesla brand and get it adopted in more poor households than any other car manufacturers, giving him a very large competitive edge over others. So if you actually study the psychology of how Teslas are sold, how they're not sold as a dealership, he promised a different model. Elon Musk has done something very intelligent here with his company, very intelligent. He has tapped into the psychology of why people don't like to buy cars, and basically has converted that psychology away against them to sell them incredibly expensive poor people cars. Now, here are two key things to understand about poor people buying cars and wealthy people buying cars. When you see a guy driving a Rolls-Royce or Ferrari or anything, you have to understand that for him, time matters. Getting from point A to point B holds the same weight as a guy with a Honda or a Mazda getting from point A to point B. The two differences in the argument is that one of these experiences in the Rolls-Royce, Ferrari, Lamborghini, or whatever it is an enjoyable driving experience, while the other one is just a necessity. So clearly, people that have more money usually don't go to work, and so on and so forth, right? So you have this very clear division here, very clear division that obviously certain people are using and cars to get from point A to point B. The other guys are also getting from point A to point B, but doing it in a way that is enjoyable. So how has Tesla been able to turn this around? So this is no different than the Apple scenario and teaching regarding how Apple specifically has been able to get the Apple Watch to be such a popular and best-selling watch. And it's not because they targeted people that wear RMs, APs, and said, hey, here's an Apple Watch that does all these things. Is on the contrary, it targeted people who own cell phones who don't like to wear watches, giving them another utility for wearing a watch rather than the other way around. So they have revolutionized the idea of a watch for people that didn't really want to wear watches to begin with. And Tesla has really done the same for people who really couldn't afford to have a better experience driving to and from work. What is the number one point of a Tesla? Autonomy, the car that drives itself, the car that can park itself. That is the autonomy, or the idea of electric vehicles, and the edge. And for people who don't enjoy driving, then certainly that makes sense. So point one, Tesla took the driving that a lot of people who don't enjoy the driving experience no longer have to make, right? That was their kind of promise and direction. Super important to note. But then they did something else, and they tapped into the ego of poor people. What is it that people understand about their Mazdas versus Ferraris or Lamborghinis? That they're naturally slower. So they naturally know when comparing themselves to someone that has a much better car, that typically those better cars are much faster. Historically, like I share in my book, Gate of Choice, no invention on human earth has ever been made if it didn't actually help literally save time. So therefore, one thing that we have to consider here is that in this case, Tesla tapped into this idea that yes, you can have a car, yes, it's not a Lamborghini, but it will be the Lamborghini, and literally shame those that are richer than you. So that was, again, hitting at their ego. Then number two, something else they do, they add gimmicks to basically make you forget or feel like you're part of something you're not. Their model, their little X, I don't know what the hell you call that, their SUV has Gwing Doors. Why? Why do you need Gwing Doors on an SUV? Why would you need that? It's cool, but it's really not, because most garages won't allow them to open. In most places, you'll notice a lot of videos on the internet where people literally forgot they closed them and they hit stuff and they break stuff. The argument here with this little idea or gimmick is nobody that owns a Lamborghini would think that's a good idea. Nobody that owns a McLaren thinks that an SUV that has doors that go 3 times higher than your garage door makes sense. They wouldn't. However, individuals who will never be in a position to afford these doors now sees an opportunity to once again tap into an experience that was always forbidden for them to tap into because they couldn't afford it. And then the last part that I think is very important to note here, outside of speed, outside of the fact that the cars have huge screens which are a distraction when driving, but you're not expected to drive your Tesla, it drives itself, so somewhat giving you an opportunity, believing you're productive or getting to the next level or doing something better because you don't care about the idea of driving. Here's something else Tesla did and broke its own promise on, which was, we are not a dealership. What do people hate, especially when they don't buy cars for pleasure, they buy them for convenience? They hate going to the dealer because they know that basically going to the dealership will mean that they will lose money, not be able to negotiate, or basically be taken advantage of. They know that. Most people don't like the dealership experience. This is why companies like Carvana, CarMax, etc. have a lot of success with lower to middle income class individuals because they don't like this negotiation strategy. So what happens is basically Tesla taking that to the next step, saying, we're an appliance store, we're in your mall, you don't have to negotiate, and basically we'll make everything easy for you in-house. People feeling good about that and thinking as a result of that, Tesla can survive forever and ultimately retain their car value. Where all of this comes full circle and breaks down is when they can't, and as a result, they're forced to basically set up dealerships, and the cost of repairs and the cost of upgrades and the cost of things get so astronomical that the value of used cars go down plummeting like we've seen in the last 12 months. One of the key things that basically made Tesla very, very successful was it tapped into this demographic that was bitter about the car market, that never had a good experience driving, and more importantly, would never be able to afford a better car. They gave that primary target market something incredible, easy to finance, easy to buy without any type of obstacles, and gave them the gimmicks that made them feel good and tapped into their ego. As a result, Tesla gained a lot of market share. As the markets change, you'll notice that market share going down with cost of repairs and things being astronomical and not what people expected out of warranty periods. One of the key indicators as to why I don't like Teslas is not just because they're electric, it's because they are set up in a manner to give a false sense of identity to someone that was driving home or work in a Mazda and giving them a sense that now their drive is going to be even more pleasurable than ever before, when it isn't. It is simply giving an entry point to giving autonomy to individuals and getting them used to the idea of no longer driving themselves, putting literally poor people out of business of owning a car and upgrading their cars and getting to that next level, instead putting them in a place to get used to the idea of autonomy so that it won't make a difference if tomorrow they're riding a shared Tesla or a cab Tesla or some sort of electric train or something that does not belong to them. This is the future of how intelligent and well put together the mind of Elon Musk is, and how he's been able to tap into a market that a lot of people ignored and a lot of people didn't think they would tap into because there wasn't a lot of money there, but there was. He just found a way to make their ego want to pay it, and as a result, he made a lot of money. This is my take on Tesla, why I hate them, why I think they're for poor people, and why specifically the psychology of them was one of the most genius marketing things that not enough schools are studying today, about how business literally comes to life in this country in a way that no one's paying attention to. That is why I would argue that his two greatest demographic markets are the United States and China. And if you look at the poverty rates in those places, the gap between wealthy and poor, you'll notice that the gaps are significantly greater than a lot of other countries. And that is why that product works very, very well there, even more so than it would ever work in Europe. There's my take. I hope you've liked videos like this. If you want to see more, please put in the comments and let me know what you thought about my overview or breakdown of Tesla. Are they for poor people? Is it a bad gimmick, or is it the most genius setup ever and everyone should have a Tesla? I'd love to know your thoughts. Go ahead and like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you next time for Exotic Car Hacks. My name is Pejman Gadimi, and I teach people how to drive exotics for free. Let's look here at how this Huracan can cost as little as $300 a month.